I was in a motorcycle accident. It's been 14 years ago, and my whole life changed in the blink of an eye. I was in the fitness industry. I had a successful career, was sponsored by Nike, regularly contributed to Shape magazine, Health magazine for articles on fitness and nutrition. And that all changed when I was hit by an SUV when I was coming, just cruising about 20 miles an hour down Ventura Boulevard.
Wow.
And I had no idea how that would change the whole trajectory of my life.
This is StRest. I'm Kerstin Lindquist, health coach, author, and Emmy award-winning TV host. I've committed to helping people reduce stress through impressive health science, attainable mindset change, and biblical truth. Let's have a real conversation with zero judgment and endless solutions that you can use. You aren't alone. You can do this. Let me help you reduce stress and make room for rest.
Hi, friends. We're going to dive into my conversation with Amberly Lago. She is a peak performance coach. She is a leading expert in resilience and transformation. And here's why. She has been through it all. She had a debilitating crash in 2010 that left her with 34 surgeries. She has a chronic condition that leaves her in pain every single day, yet she still manages to crawl out of bed and get on her knees. We're going to talk to her about what she does to be able to choose joy every day. This one is going to touch you. Here we go. I'm so excited to be talking to you because when I asked what we should focus on with all that you have going on, Amberly, you said joy, like right away, joy. And I feel like that is part of my purpose in life, is to help women gain confidence so they can create more space for joy. How are you doing that? How are you helping people create joy?
It's so funny. I just saw, I'm not great about Facebook. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I'm so glad to
Absolutely.
finally connect with you. Right before we started recording, I just happened to I'm not great about Facebook, but I happened to check because I saw that my dad had left a message, and my dad's going through a hard time right now and just had surgery yesterday. And I was so happy that this video that I posted on Facebook, and it was me at an event, and I'm in the background dancing, doing a silly dance, and go on stage and I'm dancing silly. And he actually wrote, "I'm sorry, but this just made me laugh so hard." And I'm like, well, good. I'm glad it brought you some laughter and some joy. It's about time, Dad. But, I was told by an agent a while back. She was like, "Amberly, don't dance on stage. It's just not professional." And I was like, I can't help myself. Like, I really can't help it. It just happens and it brings me joy. And I'm glad that that joy is contagious and it makes others smile and start to dance along. So I'm telling you, whether I need some joy sparked in my own life and I go out there to choose to go joy spotting, or I choose to be a joy sparker in other people's lives, joy is contagious. And I feel like no matter what we're going through, that we have the ability to choose joy, whether it's through our smile, through reaching out to somebody and telling them that we're grateful for them and why we're grateful for them, or doing a silly dance, or if we choose just to go outside and get in nature and feel the sun on our face, or whatever that may be, that there are ways to spark more joy into our lives.
I love that you said choose, because happiness is an emotion or a feeling, but joy is a choice. And we know from reading the Bible that true joy only comes from the Lord, but you do have to choose it. And in your life, you've been through so much that I feel like you've had to choose it. Can you share with people a little bit of your background and how you got to this point of launching your third book and being able to help people access joy even through major stressful periods?
Well, thank you. And I'm so glad that you brought up the good Lord, because every morning, the first thing I do is, I get out of bed and I kind of limp into a quiet space, because I wake up every day in constant chronic pain from a disease I was diagnosed with, it's called complex regional pain syndrome. There's supposedly no known cure. It's ranked highest on the pain scale, and you're in constant pain every single day. And the first thing I do is kind of limp into a quiet space and I get down on my knees and I pray. And I thank God for another day, for my ability to walk, even though it's with a limp on most days, but I can still dance, even though that's not perfect. It's that I have the ability to do the things that I love doing and that we can choose joy. And I get on my knees because it really reminds me how small I am and how big God is. And I ask for guidance throughout the day and for him to just walk alongside me. And for me, this morning, my prayer was, give me the words to speak through me and help me spread joy and your word through the world today, however that may be possible. And, I was in a motorcycle accident. It's been 14 years ago, and my whole life changed in the blink of an eye. I was in the fitness industry. I had a successful career, was sponsored by Nike, regularly contributed to Shape magazine, Health magazine for articles on fitness and nutrition. And that all changed when I was hit by an SUV when I was coming, just cruising about 20 miles an hour down Ventura Boulevard. And I had no idea how that would change the whole trajectory of my life. And, I was put in induced coma. And when I woke up out of a coma, I learned I had a 1% chance of saving my leg. And that 1%, that was my glimmer of hope that got me through 34 surgeries and months in the hospital and excruciating pain through physical therapy. And I had been trying every kind of treatment and was told I would never walk again and I would never work again and just to get back in my wheelchair. And, and I'm not here to say that, oh, now I got through that and life is great. I still have challenges every single day. I mean, this past year, I was back in a wheelchair and through mindset and through choosing joy and by the grace of God, I was able to get up out of that wheelchair again. But it is so much about mindset. It's so much about
Yes.
choosing joy and choosing to be the victor of your life and not the victim of your life. And, I just want to say quickly that it's not just about me choosing joy or what I've overcome. I decided to be an example of resilience for my children. And just a few days ago, I was in Arizona speaking at an event when I got that dreadful phone call as a parent that you never expect or want to get, that my daughter had been in an accident.
No.
I could not get home quick enough. She was riding in the car or in her best friend's truck. Her best friend lost control of the truck and they landed at 60 miles an hour in a 5-foot ditch. And
Amberly.
it was just like, and being so far away. So at midnight, I'm on the phone with American Airlines trying to get out of there. And let me tell you, in the airport, I had to focus on, I need to choose joy in this moment because there was a rude man in front of me going through TSA, yelled at me and said, well, I've got a flight to catch. And I actually said, Mama Bear came out and I was like, you know what? We all have flights to catch. And I was like, Amberly, take a deep breath. Don't go Mama Bear on this man. Let him go in front of you. You are going to make it home. And let me tell you, got on a plane. They said, I'm sorry, we're going to have to deboard this plane. Had to wait for another plane. They didn't have a plane for us. It was like everything was in slow motion. And I had to, in those moments, consciously choose joy and focus on what I am in control of and what I'm not in control of, and focus on gratitude. Because when you are grateful, and I was grateful that she was alive, that she was going to be okay, that I was on my way home and I would get there eventually, that I was able to get home and get a flight that was sooner than, and those things intentionally. And, even though there was a screaming child behind me when I finally did get on the plane, I chose joy by putting on my earphones and
Yeah.
listening to a calm app. It was like whatever I could do and whatever I could focus on, the gratitude and what I could control is what allowed me to get home. And when I say it's not just about me, what I saw when I got home was my daughter had her eye was swollen shut, her face was swollen, her a black eye already, her hip swollen and completely bruised already. And she still had her sense of humor. And she said, oh, yeah, Mom, but you should see the other guy. And then she was walking with a limp and she said, look, Mom, I'm kind of walking like you now. The fact that she could choose to be the victor in that situation and be grateful that it wasn't worse and have her sense of humor and still spark some joy and laughter. I was like, okay, that, our kids are watching us, our teams are watching us, people are watching you on social media. It's not how you react and what you do when things are going good. It's how you choose to respond when things aren't going so well.
The guy at the airport's watching you, all of that. You are an example and you can show him Jesus. So, but you're in that situation. Your daughter, you need to get home to her. She was in an accident. They're deboarding the plane. You can't get on the plane. That is a high stress moment. That is a cortisol is pumping. That is fight or flight. You said mama bear is out and mama bear is being chased by another bear. So what do you do in those situations or in general to reduce stress? Because you've been in some of the most stressful situations, whether it is that chronic pain or it is, I can't get home to my daughter who just got in an accident.
Well, you know what? I pray and I pray harder. I
Mhm.
pray sometimes in those moments, all you can do to get back in your body and create that sense of calm is to breathe. And that works whether I am in a high stress situation and just need to get home to my daughter, or if I'm laying in bed at night and the pain is radiating and it's so bad that I feel like my nervous system is almost like vibrating, like I could come off the bed. That's how intense the pain is. And, I do a meditation. I'm not great at meditation.
I don't think
So
anybody is. I'm finding more and more as I research and do this podcast, there aren't many people who raise their hand and say, I'm good at meditation.
really, well, I'm glad I'm not alone. And
You're
so
not.
that's why I use an app. And I know there are a lot of apps out there that you can use. And I'm not affiliated with this app, but it's what helps me. And there is an app, Calm, and they
Yeah,
have one.
great.
I love it. And they have a meditation in there and it's really about settling back into your body. And they do a breathing exercise in the beginning of the meditation. And I'm telling you that breathing, whether you're doing box breathing, whether you're doing just taking some deep breaths, or whether, there's uh, I think it's breathe in 4, hold for 7, breathe out 8 counts.
It's a great one.
And it just calms your nervous system. And when you are in fight or flight, when you can just get that sense of calm and get that sense of, okay, I am in my body. I am where my feet are. I'm taking it sometimes like one step at a time. And then again, I just focus on what I'm grateful for. And in that moment, it's easy to focus on the things that you're upset about the guy being rude to you in line and cutting in front of you, or that you're being deboarded from the plane. Sometimes all I can think about is, okay, well, what's the best thing that can happen? And as I got off the plane, they're like, we have another plane, and it's all the way at the totally end of the other terminal. And so there's a herd of us all walking to try to get on this plane in time. And this lady looks at me and she said, are you with the flight that just got deboarded? And I said, yes, I am. And I said, you know what? God must have a good plan for us. And I just think about God has a plan. There's always a plan. There's always a lesson. There's always a blessing in every in every situation, in every circumstance. And it's us to choose the good in that.
It's absolutely true. I'll add to what you said about the breathing in the apps. There's another app called Insight Timer. Again, not affiliated, just it's a great one for you to use. There's something called the Apollo Neuro, again, not affiliated, which is fantastic, that helps with breathing. And what Amberly is talking about is moving yourself from a sympathetic state to a parasympathetic state.
Yes.
And when you are in that sympathetic state, which has nothing to do with being sympathetic, you are in that constant fight or flight. And that was what is raising your cortisol. And then what leading to all of these health and chronic issues that we have, and belly fat and things like that. So you want to be able to manage stress over time. Acute stress, like the kind that Amberly had when she got the phone call that her daughter was in an accident. That's actually good stress. That urges you to get into action and move and run. But it's the stress over time, which she was probably experiencing as she was trying to get on this flight and things like that. That's the stuff that we don't want. You write a lot about gratitude in your book, which is fantastic. That being a strategy, I always say gratitude is a strategy. You also write a lot about hope and purpose. And how can living out your purpose help you reduce your stress and find more joy?
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? I always say your pain pushes you until your purpose pulls you. And
Mm.
even when I was stuck in the hospital bed, I focused on how I could serve. And, I've had people go, well, how could you serve when you were completely bedridden in a hospital? And I mean, I was using a bedpan. I could not get up out of bed. In fact, by the time I woke up out of a coma and was able to even sit up in bed, I had like dreadlocks in the back of my head because it was like matted. This is kind of graphic, but from blood and just
Mm.
being stuck to the bed. And so I had to have the whole back of my hair cut out. In those moments in the hospital, what helped me get through some of those really difficult times where mentally I was like, oh gosh, well, is tomorrow going to be the day they amputate my leg? Am I going to live through this next surgery? To, am I going to be able to work again? I mean, the thoughts I just could easily spiral down into
That is
depression.
worry and fear taking over.
And it wasn't until I really focused on, I got a notepad that somebody had given me, and I focused on, like, wrote down every nurse's name that came and helped me. I wanted to remember them by name. All my clients that came in and brought me flowers and food, family members, I wrote that down, and I noticed how that gratitude really shifted my perspective. But the purpose, what helped me get through those moments, is I was actually still making phone calls to clients and giving them exercise programs, nutrition programs, even though, and this might seem kind of crazy, but entrepreneurs who are listening to the show might get this on some level. The first thing I did when I woke up out of a coma was ask for my phone. Like, one of the very first things I did was I asked for my phone, and I was being rolled in from one room into another room, and it's into ICU. And I was making phone calls to clients saying, hey, I might be in ICU now, but man, I'm getting out of here in third quarter. We are going to finish strong. And just being able to be of service in that way, that helped me. It gave me a sense of, okay, I've got things to do. I'm going to get through this because I'm going to get back to work. Being able to give the nurses exercise advice, when they found out I was a fitness trainer, they'd come in and say, well, hey, Amberly, what can I do for my booty? How can I get a better booty? I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And in fact, when I was finally well enough to get out of my wheelchair, I went back to the hospital just to thank the nurses. And when I went in to see them, they're like, wow, you're so much taller than we thought, because they had never seen me out of a hospital bed. And so whatever you can do, to be of service. I think when use our strengths instead of using our strengths to suck it up, but use our strengths to be of service to others and their success, that's where fulfillment really is. And, my husband says, hey, really, you don't have to do so much. You're doing so much. And I said, look, I can either sit here and stare down at my leg and the scars and think about all the pain that my leg gives me with this crazy, baffling nerve disease, or I can go out there and be of service and get on stages and help others and inspire them to overcome obstacles and write books and get to connect with amazing people like you on your incredible show. And that turns pain to purpose, and that keeps me going.
And there's this fine line between I'm going to help other people and I'm going to serve other people. And by the way, the quickest way that you can get yourself out of feeling overwhelmed and feeling stressed and feeling worried and scared and all of that is to put the focus on somebody else and help somebody else.
Exactly.
And I talk to so many women, I know you do too, and we're servants at heart. We want to help other people, but there is a fine line between then over serving so that you're not serving yourself. And Amberly, you've done such a great job of taking care of you, filling up your cup so that you can fill up for others.
Well, thank you. I'm not always great at it.
Nobody is. Nobody wins at being the best human, right? I mean, it's all practice.
You know what? Honestly, when I got this book deal to write my new book, Joy Through the Journey, I have in the very introduction of the book, I get raw and real, and I share all my secrets, the darkness, the dark side of how I struggled. And I was on the brink of burnout, actually. And I thought, I just got a book deal. I've had this idea to write a book about, I've had this as a sticky note on my computer for 2 years. And then when I got a book deal, I was like, I am writing a book
Gotta write
about
it.
joy. I better spark some. And I had to
Mhm.
take a good hard look at my life and really get back to basics. And I think, you have to know your values, really know your priorities, and make a joy ritual that you can do every day that allows you to fill your cup. And so I mean, I really had to get back to basics. And I think it's important to do self-care. And I'm not talking just about like yoga or a massage. I'm talking about creating a life that you don't want to escape from, a life
How do
that
you do
you
that?
I
What do you
think it's
do?
having healthy boundaries, saying no. For so long, I'm an overcoming people pleaser. And I was saying yes to everything. And I was overdoing it. I would have days where I was literally on Zoom for 12 hours, and then I would have nothing left for myself and nothing left for my family. My health was declining. This past year, I think I struggled with my health more than I have in years. Like, it was to the point where it was as hard as right after my motorcycle accident. I'd had a treatment that went radically wrong. And I was still trying to push and push and push and grit it out. And sometimes we have to know when to give ourselves the grace. We have to know when to strategically plan times to rest and recover so we can serve and we can do our best and show up our best. And a good friend of mine told me, she goes, "You know what, Amberly, your impact is only as strong as you are healthy."
I
And that
love that. I use that all the time. I learned it by listening to your podcast, actually. It's so good.
Well, it was an eye opener for me. And so that's when I really got back to basics. And this sounds so simple, but I had to learn to halt, which stands for never get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Because when you get any of those, you can get on the brink of burnout. You can pick up habits that aren't so good, whether that's eating cookies instead of eating some food, a meal that you food prepped the day before, or whether that's picking up a drink. I got sober in 2016 and I was not putting enough attention on my recovery. And so I was like, okay, that's it. More meetings, more 12-step meetings. I'm starting every day as much as I want to pick up the phone and look at emails or scroll through social media. I need to get on my knees and pray first.
So
And
proud of
then
you.
I mean, I had to. I was like, I can't write a book about how to find and spark joy if I'm not doing it myself. And, I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like sometimes when you're doing something that's really important to you or it's big and you've worked on it hard, that resistance comes up, especially if you are mentioning God and you are all
That's what I was
about
going to
like,
say. Yeah.
yeah, that
I think that people sometimes think that, oh, if God is going to, we always say, if God is going to lead you to it, he's going to lead you through it, right? But that part of that isn't, he's going to make it easy for you. And in fact, the closer you are to the Lord and the more that you are speaking out his name and in his will and in his plan, and he's using you, the more resistance there's going to be, because the last thing the devil wants is for you to be one of the premier soldiers for Christ.
I completely agree. And I think that when we come up against that resistance, it is such a great opportunity to really test, okay, do you believe in this? And let me tell you, this past year with health challenges, with my dog of 14 years that was like it was my therapy dog that was with me through every surgery, passed away unexpectedly. Yeah, she was a little old lady, but the way she died was not expected. And I'm the one who found her. And I had to go, okay, does this book work? Can I find some joy through these moments? And it was a good test. And to make me, I think when we come up against that resistance, it's like, okay, do you really believe in your message? And I'm like, yep, I really believe it. Okay, I'm ready for it. Bring it, because I really had to put these actionable steps that I share in the book to play.
Yeah. I want to go back to, you said when you were in the hospital, you had a 1% chance of saving that leg. There are a lot of people listening who have chronic conditions like you do, who have cancer diagnoses where they're like, it's 50-50, and are easily choosing the, I'm just going to die, this is going to take over. That is fear, worry, stress. What do you say to them? How do you get that? You only have 1% chance, but that's what you hold on to as truth, as positivity.
Well, we have the ability to choose what we're going to focus on. And when we focus on the good keeps getting better. And I will tell you, my dad was going in for a minor surgery yesterday, and he was saying, well, if I die, make sure that Judy is taken care of. And he's probably going to kill me if he listens to this. But I was like, Dad,
Yeah.
you're not going to die. It's an outpatient procedure. Like, you're going to be fine. But it shows how easily your mind can quickly go down that spiral. And so focus on the good, focus on what you can control. And if all else fails, like you said earlier, reach out to somebody else and see how you can help them, see how they're doing. Check on somebody. And whether you're going in through a surgery or it's cancer or a health scare, or, I had a client of mine tell me, she's like, I'm just really bored. And first of all, I honestly can say I've never been bored a day in my life. And I said, well, why don't you go help someone? Go
Yeah.
volunteer. And she goes, oh, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, then you're going to be bored.
Mhm.
So you get to choose. When you go help somebody, when you're of service, it gets you out of yourself, out of that victim mentality. And it's a good way to shift your perspective. I have a gratitude practice, and I think it's great to have accountability partners. And my gratitude practice, we call ourselves the God Squad, and we text each other every single morning what we're grateful for. And just the other day, there was a lady who in my God Squad texted, it was her last day of cancer treatment. It was her last chemotherapy treatment. And I thought, wow. And I was worried about a little pain today.
Yeah.
And I don't have cancer. It shifted the way I thought about how I was going to do the rest of my day and what I was grateful for. So it's one thing to be grateful. It's another thing to write it down. It's another thing to express it. But when you can have people that you're in that community, all these ladies, I was in LA for 31 years, and all my God Squad, they still live in LA. And just to be able to connect with all the raging fires and
Yeah.
devastation that we had in Los Angeles, that they were still able to be grateful, even though some of them were evacuated. Some of them didn't have electricity. So gratitude is powerful. It's alchemy. It changes what we can't do into what we can do. And it changes what you don't have into what you do have.
So true. What are your other non-negotiables? You said you're on your knees every morning. That's exactly where the Lord wants us, and that's fantastic. Your gratitude practice. Is there anything else health related that is your non-negotiables?
For sure. Every morning I drink my gut health drink. I think that it's so much. If you have a healthy gut, it's going to help with your mindset. It's all
Yes,
connected.
all
So
connected.
I don't leave home without my supplements. I used to think I was pretty healthy. Now I'm super concerned with food. So I can taste when something has sugar in it, but if I were to eat something sweet, I immediately feel that it's going to flare me up. And so getting super focused on everything that I put into my body, like really focused on nutrition and moving
And
my
just
body.
and what she's saying there is sugar. First of all, over 21 days, if you stop eating sugar, you'll stop having that taste for it. So things won't. You could have a fig and it'll be like, oh, that was like a cookie because your taste changes. But also, sugar leads to inflammation. And Amberly, what she's been through and her diagnosis and all of the things she's had, inflammation, well, for all of us, is a killer. But you
Yeah.
can't have inflammation. And so reducing the sugar is super, super important. And sorry, I just wanted to clarify. So, and movement, you said.
Yeah. Cause movement moves your mood. And so, yeah, movement every day. And then, yeah, those are my non-negotiables
What
for sure.
supplements do you take? What supplements do you love?
Magnesium. I take
Yes.
magnesium. I'm not affiliated with this, but I started taking Nutrafol because my hair was falling out, and I think it's starting to help a little bit. I take I take a lot of stuff, but
Good.
I also have a nurse that comes to the house, and before I leave out of town, I do an IV treatment with glutathione, vitamin
Bravo.
C, zinc, magnesium, just hydration, and B vitamins, because I want to keep my energy up. And I also get
Absolutely.
my blood checked regularly to make sure like my hormones are okay and everything's going okay. I think it's super important to get your checkups with your doctor.
Absolutely, it is. Last question that I ask everybody is what's one thing that somebody can do today, right after they listen to this, to help reduce their stress?
I would say reach out to somebody and ask how you can help them. And share this episode with their friend who is stressed or worried, because your podcast is amazing. And let's all just share it and tag you. And if you tag me, then I will see this and I will share it on my social media as well at Amberly Lago Motivation. But just reach out and see how you can serve.
Absolutely. And we'll put all the information on where to find Amberly and her new book, which is fantastic, Joy Through the Journey, and her other books. You have definitely blessed me by being here. Thanks so much, Amberly.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So sometimes I only get my guests for a little bit of time. Sometimes I'll go into like an hour and a half with my guests because we have tons of time to talk, but Amberly only had about a half hour. But I did want it to touch on a couple of things that she said to be able to give you some tangible tools to help yourself. First, I want to go back to the breathing she was talking about. She talked about that Calm app that helps her through meditation. I told you Insight Timer is one that I love. Apollo Neuro, I'm actually wearing one of those, is another one that I love. One of the easy things that you can do if you're in the middle of big stress, let's say you're in that situation like Amberly was and you're at the airport and you can't get on the plane and your daughter just got in a crash. It's 2 quick inhales in and 1 long exhale out. You could do it with me right now. 2 quick inhales in through your nose and then 1 long exhale out, kind of like you're blowing out a straw. Doing that a couple of times can move you from your sympathetic to your parasympathetic. That can move you from fight and flight to rest and digest. But it is a good time to do some mindfulness, especially as we age. It's really, really, really important to have those moments of breathing exercises, quiet time and rest, and meditation. And if meditation's hard for you, like it is for most people, do it. Listen to something. The other thing that I love is NSDR. It's non-sleep deep rest. That can be found for free on YouTube. And you can do it for 5 or 10 minutes. You can also search Yoga Nidra, also called that. It's not spiritual, so it's not yoga, but it basically helps you think yourself through the different parts of your body and relax and bring that brain down. So really, really important to do that, especially I would think with Amberly and all of the surgeries and all the time in the hospital. And if maybe you're somebody who's going through that, chronic conditions, a lot of pain,
Share your story, ask for help, and give yourself grace.